AB is very good for these little corridors. Ooh, 2 divines. Ooh, another 2 div? Yeah. No! That was my double mirror. Ooh, 2x Valdo and 2x Divine? That's not a bad Arcanist box, no? What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about probably what is going to be the most meta strat for this league, which is going to be Strongbox tier 17 farming. The reason why it's so good this league is just pretty much because a lot of nerfs to like quant, like not having your merc or the map modifiers, that kind of stuff, don't affect Strongboxes as much, just because these Strongboxes are tile loot and not monster loot. But anyways, let's get right into it. It's gonna be really straightforward. We are going to be running Rainbow Scarabs, so 1 of each Scarab. The containments here are gonna cost you around a div and a half, maybe like 1.75 at the most. And the rest of the Scarabs together are gonna be like 20 C. Everything else is quite cheap, at least at the current rates. They might go up once more and more people are eligible or have characters that are able to run tier 17 maps. But that's pretty much all it is. This Scarab just gives you a fuck ton of strong boxes. This one makes it so that the strong boxes have more value because it just increases the modifiers on them. This one makes it so it's higher likelihood to be rare, the rare variety. So that's going to be like the Diviner strong box, which is probably the best one. The Currency strong box, which would be like the second best one, actually quite close. And then the Ornate strong box, you're going to see a lot of these using the Scarab. And then we're going to do hidden compartments. And then we just run a normal ambush Scarab as well, just because this is going to be like another 3 strong boxes, which is actually quite meaningful because I think even with all of this containment stuff and all of the Atlas nodes and even running the ambush map device, this is still going to be roughly like, I think 8 to 10% more strong boxes for your map. So it's actually quite nice to have, and it's really, really cheap. Awesome. So the next part, and like probably the second most important part of this strategy, is going to be the map. As I said before, we're going to be running these on tier 17s, specifically on a fortress map here. So what you want for this map are going to be 2 things. So the first thing is you're going to want currency, and the second thing you're going to want is Scarabs. So we're going to roll our maps for that, and I will link a regex as well in the description. But essentially the way I do this whole thing is I don't like roll the maps like one at a time. I'm not like rolling my map and seeing like, oh, okay, is it 150 maps, 70 currency, that's nice. 50 maps, that's bad. No, what I do is I put this regex in, and essentially it includes all the mods that I don't want and the currency roll ranges that I do want. I think this is like either 150 plus currency or 100 currency with 70 plus Scarabs. I think that might be what the roll ranges are. And then there's like a few mods that I can't run. Like I can't run Reflect, I can't run Max Res, Awakener's Desolation, targeted by Meteor, no damage every 3 to 10 seconds, action speed reduction, cannot be leached from. You can come onto this website, poe.re. I'll link that in the description as well. You can essentially pick whichever mods that you don't want. So for example, if you can't run volatiles, like if you don't want volatiles on here, you just put in volatiles and then you click this and then it adds it to the regex. I will say over 30 maps, it only costs me 5 div to roll all 30. So that's what, like at the time that was like 15 C per map. So it was pretty cheap, and having it be like very, very well rolled will influence your loot pretty significantly. So I definitely recommend that you loosen up your regex too much and you make sure that you're actually getting some pretty good maps. Because if you think about it, 15 C per map, although it does feel kind of expensive, or 5 div for 30 maps, you're going to be investing like 50 div already. So if you kind of cheap out on this part, you might regret it later. It might not be efficient to do. Anyways, all you're doing is put your regex in, and then you're not looking at anything. You're looking at the map and you're waiting for it to light up. It lit up. So this means it has a high amount of currency or a high amount of currency and Scarabs. And also on top of that, it doesn't have specific map mods that I cannot run. And that is pretty much all we care about. So the last thing I'm going to recommend that you guys do is, if you are strong enough, add a Deli Orb on. These currency Deli Orbs are only 4 chaos. They're dirt cheap right now. These Maven Chisels are also only 4 C. So this is 20 C total added on per map, which it's kind of expensive. Like I said before, it's like another 5 div onto the total, but it's like you're spending 55 div, right? This is not the place where you kind of want to skimp out on, and this actually adds a lot of reward. Awesome. That's pretty much all there is for the map. Let's talk about the Atlas really quickly, and then we can kind of go into like what it actually looks like and what the rewards are. So I don't have all 132 of my points. I've just been lazy about it. But yeah, I mean, there's no real excuse. You theoretically could get 5 to 10% more loot than what I dropped by having all of your points set up. But we do the classic Hokage / Rice Farmer head with the hat. This is just, you know, everyone needs this. This is just increased map mods and quant. It's very, very nice to have. And then notably, we just take almost all of the strongbox nodes. This one, tamper proof, is good to have because it just makes it so you don't have to go and roll your strongboxes. They're all going to be rare to start with. Secret compartments is just very, very OP. It synergizes well with our Scarab here. Hidden compartments, because it's 10 plus 15%, it's going to be 25%. It's very, very nice. And each percentage increase that you have of being able to open it again, the higher this number is, the more valuable it is. So very, very nice to have. We come down here as well, just for the strongbox nodes, additional strongbox. Why not? We take those. And we also take ritual altars. I personally was struggling with strength, so having ritual altars was very, very nice. It just helped me clear the map more, helped me definitely with the tier 17 boss, which was quite a struggle at times. And yeah, they also give more packs, so why not? Why not take them if we can? We went blue altar here just because we noticed that the icores were like really, really expensive at the time. Like they were like twice the cost of the embers. So the blue, what are these called? The Eldritch currencies here. So these ones, so like the lesser, greater, and grand icores were like twice as expensive as their red counterparts. So we just decided to take those. But if the prices shift, then you can swap. Or if you think the red mods are easier to run, then you can swap as well. And all that would look like is you get out of these points right here, and then you go into these points here. And you only take the ones that give you pack size. Yeah, but we come up here as well for div cards, just more div card chance, like higher chance for diviner strong boxes. And when you drop a div card, it doubles. Same thing for here. Currency items and strong boxes are duplicated, and more Arcana strong boxes. This is perfect, exactly where we want to be. But the tree is pretty straightforward. I also block some of these shitter Scarab nodes. It costs like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points, which you can put into more Scarabs. But I just thought it makes a lot more sense to block them. I know it doesn't necessarily work on those drops, the Scarab drops from strong boxes themselves, but you're making, as you'll see later in this video, you're going to be making around 25% of your total returns from Scarabs. So you do want to invest as many points as you can into Scarabs. Another thing is that if you had 8 more points here, if you had all of your Atlas points, you would just come down, grab more Scarabs, or there's actually an option where you come over this way, you grab Scarabs, and then you grab Beyond and invest a little bit into Beyond. But I don't know, with the ground loot nerfs and also the fact that like tainted currencies aren't that expensive, I just didn't think it was all that worth it to do. But it definitely could be a possible, like it's definitely an option that you could go into, and it would make sense to me. I just personally wanted to go for something a little bit more consistent. I had a feeling that Scarabs were going to be very, very valuable, and they definitely are, especially in this early league. Awesome. And that's it. But for the maps, all we're going to do is we're just going to like go through the map, and we're going to just clear the map as much as possible. Okay, we're just going to run in a straight line, clear the map, open all the boxes, pick up all the loot, and then once we get to the boss, we drop a TP, we go and fight him. If you have a headhunter, you're going to want to kill a bunch of rares before you go in, get your headhunter stacks up, go in and fight him. If you are KB like I am, you're probably going to struggle a little bit with damage, single target damage. I mean, if you want to look at my gear, I have a pretty sick wand that I crafted. I just got lucky with an essence spam. This is probably worth like 20 div. My body armor is probably worth like 5, and then every other piece of gear is probably worth like 1 or 2 div is what I paid for it. Plus probably like another 10 div in jewels up here. So you could say like 40 div in gear, not super expensive, like not super kitted out, but I was running a headhunter for a decent amount of it. I think 15, I would say like half the maps I was running headhunter. The other half I was just running a double abyss jewel belt. So not super geared out, but not incredibly poor either. So I would say with Headhunter, it feels very, very amazing. You're getting through the maps in around 9 or 10 minutes, I would say. And then without Headhunter, it's like taking 12 minutes. You were dying pretty frequently. Some maps, I actually just didn't kill the boss because I died too many times. But I would say definitely doable without Headhunter, but feels very, very comfy with it. One thing I would say is like efficiency thing is you could try and open up multiple boxes at once. Like if you have boxes that are close to each other, you should just go and open 2 at a time, AoE them down, like that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's really straightforward. You just run around the map, open strong boxes, kill monsters. I skipped most of my breaches unless they were the specific breach portal thing where you just open, like the old breach where you just where you touch it and then you just go and kill the mobs around you, not the defense ones. Those defense ones really suck. They give you like no loot at all. But if you'd like to do them, go ahead and do them. But I personally just skipped them. But yeah, let's get into the costs plus the returns that we made and see if this is actually really worth running as a strategy. Okay, so what did our profits look like and what did our costs look like? So our costs were 30 maps, right? We ran 30 maps total, 30 fortresses. We bought these for 55C. So that's 1650C, 20x deli orbs. These were really cheap, like I said before, 4C each. 80 Maven chisels. These were 4C each as well. And then the other scarabs, like it was 1.5 div per containment and the other scarabs were like 20C each. So these two together were like a lot, like 48 div. This was most of the cost. The total costs were 65.5 div. It was quite expensive to do. Okay, so for our revenue, okay, we had close to 2,700 chaos orbs in just bubblegum currency. That is the GCPs, the glass blower baubles, jeweler's orbs, fusing chromes, that kind of stuff. We made 2,700 chaos in that, which is like very, very close to like 25 div in just random ass bubblegum currency, which is very, very nice. On top of that, we had, I think, like actually not that many chaos, like 650 chaos, 20 div and raw div, as well as I think 16 of all those boxes as well. On top of that, we made 11 div in boss frags. So that's just like killing the tier 17 boss. He drops a bunch of fragments that you can use as keys to get into like better bosses like Uber Elder, that kind of stuff. The fun fact here is we actually died to the boss like 10 times as we were kind of figuring out the boss mechanics, that kind of stuff. So this number could actually be significantly higher. Probably like the expected value is like close to like 15 to 20 div if you actually complete all of your bosses like we did not. But regardless, we're just going to count this as 11 div. The total returns from all of the currency drops that we got, as well as all of the completed div cards, like the chaotic dispositions that you can just turn in for 5C, we turned in, totaled to around 75 div. On top of that, we had 8 div in items. Like we dropped 2 enlightens. There are some div card items that we got from our div cards, like the anima stone, that kind of stuff. So another 8 div in total. Brings us up to 83 div. However, this does not include any of our scarabs and also our leftover div cards. Like stuff like we have 6 fortunates, for example. This is easily worth a div. It's if you turn it in, you get 2. We have half of a turn in, so it should be 1 div. Like that kind of stuff. It was valued at on our wealthy exile as like around 10 div. Same with our scarabs. I think we had around 32 div in fragments, and we just calculate that as 10% less of the wealthy exile estimation. So it was like 42 div or something, and then we take the 10% off, 39 div in scarabs plus leftover div cards. Also for maps, we did drop like almost 100 dunes maps plus these 3 16.5 dunes maps. These are worth 3C each, so this is like another 4 div. So our total revenue here is then going to be the 83 plus 39 plus 4, which is 126 div. And this is across, of course, over 30 maps, which means we roughly profited 2 div per map. We're just going to calculate the average as 10 minutes per map. But like I said before, with Headhunter, I was easily able to run them in like 8, 9, 10 minutes at most. And then without Headhunter, it was looking like around 12 minutes. So I ran half and half, so average was 10. But if you have a Headhunter, you can or if you're fast, you can easily get these done in 8 or 9 minutes. And if you're a little slow, it'll take you like around 12 minutes. So if you're at like an 8-minute pace, right, that means you're doing around 7 maps, which means you're at like 14 div an hour. If you're doing 12-minute pace, that means you're doing like 5 maps, which means you're at around 10 div per hour. So I just calculate this as like 11 or 12 div, but in reality, it's like 10 to 14 div, depending on how fast you are per hour. If you care about per hour metric, that's kind of like how I calculate it. If you care about the per map metric, it's like around 2 div per map profit. It's very, very solid, especially at containment prices of around 1.5 div each. However, at the current time of posting, containments have actually gone down in value. So that's one thing to consider. Before, it was like you'd have to put in an offer for 1.5 and then wait a couple hours in order to get that. Now it's like 1.5 is the max offer, and you can easily get them for like 1.4, 1.3, that kind of thing. So I think the actual value proposition for this strategy has gone up. But of course, as the price of containments go down, perhaps it's due to other things like, the price of chaos going down as well. Anyways, that is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you guys like the video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you guys again in the next one.